Hey, good evening. It's Pastor Mary. It is March 31st, the last day of March. Can you believe it? And the sun is shining after our very gloomy, windy night last night and the rain during the night. And I'm kind of in the shadow. I've got a beam coming in on me. But I'm kind of like in the dark, but not in the dark. Does that make any sense? So anyway, I know some of those of you who watch this have now shared with me that you watch it sometimes in the middle of the night, which is okay. But I hope that for those of you who haven't had a good night's sleep, that you can get a good night's sleep. And maybe I'll make you tired enough, bore you enough that you'll be able to go to sleep. So, Cheryl, dear Cheryl, how are you? How are you? How's Illinois? You all have had some rain. I saw there's some rain going across. Is there rain your way tonight? I'm wearing my good evening. You are my first one. But I know a bunch of people tell me they do listen later, and hopefully a few more will join on here. I'm trying to make sure I write down prayer requests. Yeah, these are interesting. Chilly and rainy. Okay. Well, I saw on the rain map tonight that there was like this streak of green across Illinois. Right, wasn't across any other state. So it's interesting. You must be in that path of that rain. So I'm just writing down prayers. I found out some in the last few hours. Jeannie, cousin Jeannie, how are you? I hope you are on here. It's great to have you on here. Jeannie, how are you and Gabe doing? How are things with you? Janet, good evening. Good evening. Let's see. What was I going to share with you? There's always prayer requests. Connie Klompenstein, who's from St. John, texted me this afternoon that her husband Charlie had to go to the hospital, and he was admitted to the hospital, and the hope is that he will be able to get into rehab. He has been having some problems with falling. He has fallen several times over the last few weeks and fell the other day, and he has been having some memory issues going on. But she's hopeful that it will help him, and I'm hopeful for that too. And also, they both really need rest. I know Connie is a great caregiver, and they both need rest right now. So I just want to lift them up in prayers. Also, found out from a former member of a church I served that a member, Loretha, her husband died, and they will be having a visitation for him. That was when I served in Decatur. So I'm thinking of Loretha and lifting up prayers for her and her whole family at the loss of her husband. That is always a very difficult thing. Also was texting with Steve Harwood, who's also a member tonight. And he said that his dad is actually in good spirits and seems to be, let's see, what did he say? I'll tell you, because, and he's thankful for all the prayers. He says he's doing pretty well. They're working with his oxygen levels, but hoping to get them where they should be with a little work. So Steve and Sandra, those of you who know them, they are in Canada with their family, with Steve's dad, and Steve is working from there because Have Computer will travel, right? There are people who can do that, whose work is like that. My work's not like that, except for this. But so we also want to lift up and continued prayers for Steve's dad, and good to hear he's in good spirits. And so those are just a few prayer requests tonight. Also, our friend Andy, who I've talked about a lot, it seems to be doing well in Tennessee. And if you are someone that knows Andy, please, and you would like to send him a card, you can either see me or Lynn to get that. Lynn will be off tomorrow, so she will not be in, but you can see me on Sunday. I can give it to you, or you can get it from one of us next Tuesday, okay? Just a little note, I will be off next Thursday, so I will do devotions on Tuesday next week. I will do, I'll be at worship next Wednesday. We'll have our last Lenten service we'll have dinner at 5:30. I'm one of the cooks. Thank you, Betty. And continued prayers for Heather and the new baby. And so dinner's at 5:45. Phyllis and I and Rita Johnson are putting the meal together. And so probably soup and sandwiches is my expectation. I plan to make at least a pot of soup. Oh wow. So my cousin, Jeannie, who is taking care of her wonderful grandson, Gabe, says they're at Cardinal Glennon, which is in St. Louis. It's a hospital for children, if I remember correctly. And she said, her grandson's blood work is showing low red blood cells and hemoglobin, so they're running tests. Pray for the doctors to find the issue and help him so we can go home soon. They don't think it's anything seriously hopefully. Well, Jeannie, we will definitely be praying for Gabe and for you, and we just be praying for the best, and that they will get answers and we'll be able to take care of things. He is such a sunshiny, bright boy, and you are such a great grandma, and a great woman who is his grandma, right? I don't want to call you a great grandma, just we pray for the best for both of you. So I'm really glad. And Cheryl, we will be praying for your church and all the churches we know who will be doing services for Holy Week. That's coming soon. We took Christopher. I have to share this. We took Christopher Day. I met them on my way home on the McDonough Square. We have a really cool square, and a lot's been growing and going, but there's been a tuxedo shop on the square since, I think he said he's in his 27th year. He said there was nothing hardly there when he came. And Christopher's going to prom, but guess when prom is? It is Easter, the night before Easter, Saturday night. So Christopher is part of the homecoming court, and that was very cool to find out today. And so we took him to get fitted. He's going to wear a tuxedo. We're getting him new red tennis shoes. They had some really spiffy red shoes. You know how those men's shoes they rent for weddings and stuff? Well, I was like, we're not getting him the black ones because they probably aren't that comfortable and he won't leave them on. We don't need to pay for lost shoes. But they had red loafers. Well, they were, and they were all sequins. I'm like, man, they were cool. But I don't know that they're that comfortable either. So anyway, Christopher's going to wear a red bow tie and red suspenders with his black jacket. And he's going to, red bow tie. Yeah. So he's going to look really cool. And so if I'm a little bleary-eyed on Easter Sunday morning, it's because he may have gotten home a little late on, I don't know. He's going with his friends and his teachers. They all go. We can't go, which is fine. We can go and take pictures. So I will be putting pictures up because Sam did not want to go to prom last year and they didn't have prom his junior year. So I will be taking pictures, and I'm sure his teachers and aides will send pictures. So I'm very excited for them. I'm very excited he's going. But we're going to get him new tennis shoes, hopefully new red tennis shoes, because he loves red. He always loves red. If you ask him to pick a color, he will always pick red. So anyway, that was kind of fun, and they were a very nice place, and they have lots of guys that come who go to special needs prom, so they were just really, really good with him. So it was a great experience to do that. So, oh, Jeannie, I forgot you are a great grandmother, so it does fit you. Oh, wow, that's good. Yes. Yeah, I think Christopher will look pretty spiffy. We're getting him a jacket, and we're renting red suspenders so that if he takes off his jacket, he has the suspenders to hold up his pants. So, Christopher usually, he doesn't wear button-down shirts unless it's a polo and it's all the way buttoned up. He doesn't wear regular, pants. He doesn't wear jeans. He generally wears, leisure athletic pants. And he does have a pair of khaki pants, but they had elastic in the waist and elastic at the legs. And he wore those for homecoming. So, and Jeannie, I'm sorry. I forgot. Yes, you are a great-grandmother. You're a young great-grandmother. That's all I got to say. So own it, lady. Anyway, so tonight I'm reading. I told you on Tuesday I'm reading this book called Jesus of Pilgrimage, and it's about a priest who I really enjoy his writings, James Martin. He's a Jesuit priest, and he had to be convinced to go to Israel. Which, can you believe that? Listen, if somebody gave me the opportunity to go to Israel and my way was paid, I would be going. But he talks about that he had in his own mind what it all looked like because of reading the Gospels and Jesus' stories over all the years. And so at first he was like, he wasn't sure if he was going to go. But then a friend said to him, well, you always take a retreat every August. If you have enough time, you should go, He's like, why not go experience it for yourself? So he decided to go, and he changed his mind. And so this book, he will be sharing his experiences there with the gospel stories and the places that he went. But I want to share a few other things before I get to that part. He says, let's see. I had a couple things picked out. Let's see. Because this is in the introduction. And I shared a few things with you last night about questions about things from above and things from below. And I thought that was really, really, really good. So, and then I shared about Ignatian contemplation, which is entering the gospel story and imagining yourself in that story and what that would be like to be on a boat or to be at the cross. I mean, imagine, I have done that. And I've done some sermons being a person like at the cross or Mary at the tomb. And those for me are always I really feel the Spirit with me when I do that. But so anyway, he says when he discusses the life of Jesus, he'll be clear about what comes from the Gospels, the Christian tradition, and historical research, and what comes from scholarly speculation and his own personal prayer. He says, I'll be clear about what is speculative and what is not. He says, my insights into Jesus' life also comes from experiences. Christ lives truly risen, not only at the right hand of the Father, as the Nicene Creed has it, but in the lives of people around us. One beautiful image from St. Paul is that the community of believers is the body of Christ on earth. Yes, I believe so. So in the ministries in which I have worked, I've met Christ. In Kingston, Jamaica, alongside Mother Teresa's sisters. In Nairobi, Kenya, with East African refugees. In Chicago, with street gang members. In Boston, with incarcerated men and women. And in a parish in an affluent neighborhood in New York City. Mother Teresa often spoke of encountering Christ in distressing disguise when working among the poor. And often I have found Christ among the poor. But you can find Christ in anyone. As the Jesuit poet Gerard Manley Hopkins, I believe we read him in high school. I believe Mrs. Reynolds had us read him, and I did not realize that he was a Jesuit. He wrote this, for Christ plays in 10,000 places, lovely in limbs and lovely in eyes not his, to the Father through the feature of men's faces. And then he says, but less poetically, we can encounter Christ in the people around us. Every person's life can tell us something about God. So I will share stories of encountering God in and through others. And then he also says, many New Testament passages have also taken on greater meaning thanks to particular events in my life. When you encounter Scripture at a critical moment, it often feels as if you've never seen that passage before. How true is that? So then he gives an example. He says, during our time in Jerusalem, my friend George and I stumbled upon the pool of Bethsaida, I thought, or Bethesda. You know, there's Bethesda and there's Bethsaida. And the difference is that the S comes after the H, and in Bethesda, the S comes after the E. So the pool of Bethesda, which the Gospel of John names as the place where Jesus healed a paralyzed man. John describes it as a pool with 5 porticos, but archaeological excavations in the 19th century uncovered almost the entire complex, including the 5 porticos just as John had described. Seeing not only the site at which Jesus had performed a miracle, but also one confirmation of the gospel's accuracy was deeply moving. There were the 5 porticos. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They were, and here he had been. Over 2 weeks, he and his friend George visited almost every spot Jesus had visited. Jerusalem, Bethlehem, and Nazareth, of course, but also the locales traditionally connected to his ministry around the Sea of Galilee, the Mount of Beatitudes where he preached the Sermon on the Mount, the rocky beach where he called the first disciples, the bay from which he preached the parables while sitting in a disciple's boat. Seeing what Jesus saw and standing where he stood, or at least near there, deepened his appreciation of the Gospels and deepened his faith. He also says, the pilgrimage also taught me the things I have not learned from books. For one thing, how close the places were in which many of the miracles occurred around the Sea of Galilee. In just a few hours, you can walk along the coastline and visit the sites of many of what the Gospels called dynamic works of power. For another, how far apart some of the towns were. It's one thing to read that Jesus and his disciples walked from Jerusalem to Jericho. It's another to traverse that distance by car, which is about an hour, and picture how punishing the trip must have been on foot in first century Palestine. Small details leapt up at every moment. One hot day, standing in the place where Jesus most likely preached the parables, on the shoreline of the Sea of Galilee, I looked around and noticed that the surrounding landscape included rocky ground, fertile ground, and thorny plants. Now think about that. Rocky ground, fertile ground, and thorny plants. What does that sound like to you? Immediately, he said, I thought of Jesus' parable of the sower, in which a farmer spreads his seed on just those kinds of terrains. For the first time, he says, I realized that when Jesus was preaching, he may not have been describing abstract plots of land, as in, try to imagine rocky ground, but what his listeners were standing on. I could envision him pointing and saying, look at that ground over there. Pretty amazing to think about, isn't it? That experience reminded me of something a friend told me before I left. Traveling through the Holy Land is like visiting the family home of a good friend. No matter how well you know the person, you'll understand your friend better afterward. Overall, the pilgrimage made the Gospels more vivid, deepened my understanding of specific stories, and afforded me an enormous amount of fascinating information about the life and times of Jesus of Nazareth. This is why the Holy Land is often called the fifth gospel. Isn't that cool? I mean, I think that's really cool to think that to go there, to encounter where Jesus lived and preached and the miracles he did, it becomes a fifth gospel because it makes it come alive. I think that's just so amazing to think about. Let's see. So he says, after I explained that this book would focus only on specific gospel passages, one friend asked sensibly, what can you say that hasn't been said? Well, he said, I'll write about the Jesus whom I've met in my life. This is the Jesus who hasn't been written about before. It may be similar to hearing a friend tell you something unexpected about a mutual friend. I never knew that about him, you might say wonderingly. Seeing a friend through another pair of eyes can help you appreciate a person more. You may end up understanding your friend in an entirely new way. So that gives you even more and a little piece of what he was preparing and that experience of seeing those places. So I will, next Tuesday and the Tuesday after, I will share some specific scriptures from this because I really am enjoying it and I'd like to share more of it with you. But it's interesting when he talks about the Jesus that we know is different because of the encounters we have with Jesus in our life. And I've shared from time to time that I'm on several Facebook groups that are for clergy, and some are for the ELCA Lutheran, and some are clergy women, and they're from around the world. And I'm on two different clergy groups, women's groups, and somebody shared the other night, and I shared a story that I talk about from time to time, but it was when, and I was in seminary, when it finally became very solid ground for me that this was what God had called me to do. Excuse me. So those of you who've been on here know that I grew up Catholic. Had no plans to become a minister. I joined the Lutheran church in my early 20s when I moved to Kansas City. I was already looking for a Lutheran church because I'd gotten involved with, I was part of, the Newman Center in college, but I was really extending my theological view and that experience. And I always say I didn't leave man, and I owe a lot of my spirituality to my Catholic upbringing. And, here I am reading the Jesuit, right? And I love Lutheran theologians too. But anyway, so this woman pastor asked the other night, she said, help, somebody's breathing down my neck that they don't think women should be clergy, any advice? And there was lots of good advice. So I shared this story with her of what had happened to me. I told her that when I was in seminary, I worked 2 summers in Yosemite National Park. I lived there. I worked there. I lived right in the park. I lived in a tent cabin. I can tell a lot of fun stories about my time there. It was wonderful and absolutely amazing, and really, really brought my faith alive in new ways, having worship outdoors. I love worship outdoors personally. And I always say it was the most beautiful place I ever preached, because it wasn't about stained glass windows or church building, but it was about being in God's creation. We met at an outdoor auditorium that was open. They have those there for different speakers and different programs, and this was in a campground, and I had one specific campground that I worked in. So anyway, this woman asked this question, and, she's asking for different passages or ideas. And so I said, I shared this story, and I said, one time I'd probably been there, it was my first summer, and I'd probably been there already like half the summer. So I was there for about 3.5 months, I think. I came in June, July, August. I went back in by mid-September. I went back to seminary in Chicago. I was in Chicago at the time. Anyway, it was about halfway through the summer, and I had been leading worship outdoors, and that had been going really great. And I had college students with me, because college students could also come and work, and they would lead music, or they would do like Sunday school with the kids, take the kids off and do things with them while we were having worship. So I had 2 young adults with me who worked with me. And anyway, one Sunday after worship, pretty much everybody had left, and all of us worked in restaurants and campgrounds and things like that. I worked in a restaurant because I had lots of restaurant experiences, so I was able to get a job in one of the restaurants. I was called a kitchen mama. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But anyway, but we were off on Sunday and Monday, and so we would usually meet later in the afternoon on Sunday as a team, because we had 6 different campgrounds in Yosemite where we had worship. And then there was a lot of Sunday nights we would go away together, go out into the desert, or go to Fresno, or just go different places. We didn't go too terribly far away because we had to be back sometime later Monday afternoon. But so anyway, this guy stays afterwards, and he wants to talk to me, and I'm like, I'm open, I'm friendly, I will talk to just about anybody, unless I'm worried about my safety or something. But I'm pretty open about it. And so he starts in, and he's like, well, I want to talk to you. And I'm like, okay, well, what do you want to talk about? And he's like, well, I want to talk to you about why you shouldn't be a pastor. And I could tell, this guy was older than me. He was probably in 40s, I would say, at the time. I was 30. I was 30. And, I thought, okay, I'm not doing this, I know why I'm in seminary. I believe God has called me my Synod area has said, yes, we think you have a call, go to seminary. And so I stopped him and I said, look, I said, I just don't want to go there. I said, because it doesn't matter what you say, and it doesn't matter what I say to you or what you say to me, but I'm never going to, I don't think I'm going to convince you that women should be ministers, and you are not going to convince me that women shouldn't be ministers. So I said, you and I read scripture very differently. We have different viewpoints about it and different ways of interpretation. So I said, thank you, but no thank you. And let's just go our separate ways. And so he accepted that and he went on his way. And I told her, I said, that experience helped me to realize clearly, because I had questioned a lot. And I questioned after that too, but that really became my solid foundation for me, that that I felt a call from God, and that even in my brokenness and my sinfulness, that God could use me to reach other people. My cat wants to drink out of everything I have. No, you cannot drink. Sorry. And that that I really had a sense in that this is what I was supposed to be doing. And even though it was kind of a strange encounter, it really impacted me and really solidified me to do. And so I told this story to this woman. I wrote it to her, and I said, and here's what I learned. I said, there are people, no matter what you do, they will never be convinced that you as a woman should be a pastor. Don't worry about them. You don't have to be their pastor. And if this person is a member and they don't like it, well, they don't have to be a part of the church, because you're the pastor and you're staying. And I'm not saying that to be mean, but to say that, I've had that happen a bunch of times to me, where I have been questioned by people in my own denomination just because I'm a woman. And, Jesus, I believe, calls all kinds of people in all kinds of different ways, in all kinds of ministries, and in all different kinds of ways to serve. And I'm just not going to argue with people about it, but it's become clear to me through reading scriptures and the stories of the women with Jesus, and the women being the first ones whom Jesus revealed himself on Easter, and in scriptures that talks about there's neither slave nor free, male nor female. I believe wholly with my heart. Of course, I wouldn't be a pastor 25 years if I didn't believe that. So anyway, that was really a profound experience. But to go back about the doubt thing, I had a professor in seminary, and it was after that, it was winter, and I really struggled in Chicago with seasonal affect disorder, which is seasonal depression. And I was always so much better in the spring, but I would take medication and do therapy in the winters because I really struggled. But I remember sitting down with one of my professors who I really was thankful for and appreciated him and had him for class. And I said to him, do you ever doubt your faith? And he said to me, Mary, there's not a week goes by that I don't doubt or I said, do you ever doubt your call? And he said, there's not a week goes by that I don't doubt my call. He said, but it's okay, because God keeps calling us. And, we're reading a book on our Tuesday morning group, our centering prayer group. We just are in the introduction. It's called Faith After Doubt by Brian McLaren. And I really have loved the introduction, and I look forward to us reading in our group. So I think it'll be really great. So another prayer request I forgot to share is for Sharon. She shared that a friend of hers died today, so we just send prayers to Sharon and to the family and friends of Sharon's friend who died of cancer, and just ask God to give all of you and you, Sharon, comfort in this time of loss and grief. And we want to keep praying for Ukraine and for peace to come. I was very encouraged by a report I heard today about the work that Ukraine has been doing with technology and being able to get the word out, the clear word out of what's really happening and what's going on. It it was really an amazing report to hear. But we want to pray for peace, and we want to pray for all those who've been displaced, and we want to pray that they can find places to settle and that their families can be reunited, and that this war will end soon, because there's no reason for this war. I just totally believe that. And so we just want to pray for that to come to an end very, very soon. And just for all those who are dealing with long COVID, that's COVID with the longer lasting effects. And also for a very dear friend of David's who found out news that her brother has died. We just pray for her and her family, and we just pray you give her comfort in this time. And those are the prayer requests that I know tonight, but any prayers on your hearts we lift up as well. So we will have Friday night fun tomorrow night, 7 p.m., so please join us. And next week, as I said, and I'll put it up, I will have devotions on Tuesday, and then we'll have Wednesday night worship. It will be a healing service, and so we hope that'll be at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, both of those, so we hope you can join us. We have worship on Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're around and you can join us in person, we'd love to have you. And if not, please join us online. And there will be no devotions next Thursday because we're taking the day off. Christopher's on spring break, and we're going to do a few things. Good evening, Karen. I'm glad you're on here. But I think we're doing Friday Night Fun next Friday because we will not be doing Friday Night Fun on Good Friday. So, and next week I will share the times for worship services and which ones are going to be broadcast. So if you want to watch any of them, you'll be able to do that. So, okay, well, that's it for Thursday night devotions. Thank you so much for joining me, for listening to my story, to listening to more from the book of Jesus, and I will share more from it next week. Yeah, God calls us. We all have a call on our life. It may look different from other people's, but we all have a call. Hey, Gwen Flowers Taylor. Hey, thanks for coming on. But we all have a call. It's given to us in our baptism. I believe that. And, whether you're a teacher or you work at a restaurant or in a store, or you're retired, or you're a child going to school, or you're in college, or, you're a dental assistant, or you're a church administrator, we all have a call. And that call involves us sharing the good news of Jesus by the way we live our life and by the words that we speak or don't speak. And one of my favorite quotes, which is on the back of my personal calling card, well, not calling card, but my personal card, is preach the gospel, use words if necessary. And it's attributed to St. Francis of Assisi, he and St. Clare are my favorite saints because of the lives and the things they taught and the things they shared about Jesus that were amazing. So anyway, preach the gospel, use words if necessary. Let your life speak of the light in your heart and the love that God has bestowed upon you. May you share it with others. May they know comfort and graciousness and love and forgiveness and grace from you. And may you see your life as a call daily and live that call out each and every day. And now may Almighty God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit bless you now and forever. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you with favor and give you peace. And may God watch over you this night, give you good rest, protect you from all harm, and give you a great day tomorrow, wherever you may be. And we're praying for the farmers too, praying for the farmers for safety as they plant, as they put anhydrous on, as they put in the seeds, as they sow the ground, as they plow and till and do all the things they do, and for the harvest that of the things that are planted that are blooming across our country. We just pray for safety of all farmers and farm workers. So thank you all so much. Jeannie, let me know how things go, okay? I'll be praying for you. Cheryl, hang in there with church stuff. Karen, keep doing a great job at school. Gwen, keep leading people in our community. Janet, and I was going to say Betty, keep taking care, stay well, stay blessed, and be a blessing to others. Good night. Take care.